Good evening, hockey fans, and welcome to another episode of Snipe, Celly. This guy right
I'm
here is
actually
already messing with me to start off the top of the show.
I had to. I'm actually here for the start today.
Yeah, we're close to on time, but yeah, nice to be able to start off the show with you here. I'm Dan Bradley. He's Joel Fernino. Welcome to the show,
Hello.
everybody.
Hello.
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 We have a rock star show planned for everybody tonight. So,
which if I can interject real quick, is
go
really
ahead.
lucky. It's just an atonement. Just everyone I like to mess with Dan about 95% of the time. But for this
This is true. It is
5%,
known.
this 5%, this is an atonement to how much Dan truly knows about the league. Because he was able to help us put together a show for you tonight, even though right now we are in probably the most boring dog days of the NHL season. There's nothing on except for pretty much one big story, which we will cover. But there's other than that, there's really nothing going on this
It's
past
been
week or
kind of
so.
slim pickings. I feel like there's a good surge at the start of the year. There's our reactions to, oh my God, such and such team is off to a hot start. Is it sustainable?
Yeah.
Is such and such team that's off to a terrible start going to be able to turn it around?
Yep.
Which coach is on the hot seat? Who's
Which
going to the
get
All-Star
fired?
game?
Yeah,
Right.
Snubs.
Like there are certain checkpoints, milestones throughout the season, and we're kind of between the milestones of All-Stars are announced, but not yet to All-Star game, not yet to trade deadline, and we still throw things together and make it work and do a show here. So we're going to jump right in. If you have something that you want to share with us throughout the show tonight, we would love to hear from you.
Do it.
You can drop a comment below. We are live for the entirety of the show, so put your comment up on the screen. Have a little fun. And
make fun of me. Just me, though.
Do it. Roast Joel.
Yeah.
We'll give everybody the option to do that tonight.
If we get enough people to do that, we'll make it a weekly segment.
The roast of Joel Fernino.
I like it. But hey, it's okay, Dan. But I have some news for you. I guess you didn't see it coming. You've actually been fired from Snipe, Celly, but you're not going to actually get fired until next week's show.
Oh, okay. So you're telling me that I'm just going to have to kind of sit here and ride things out and wait for the new guy to come in, even though everybody knows it's the worst kept secret in podcasting that
yes,
I'm going to get replaced. But
yeah, and I'm not going to actually, and even though I'm making that decision, I'm not going to admit that it's going to cause our team to have issues and the locker room is going to go stale and we're going to lose games as a result and our fans are going to go against me. Like, no, I won't admit any of that. This is just strictly business.
Is there some sort of a cheer that maybe the fans can rally around that involves my name in a creative pun some way? Not to put you on the spot here, but like,
yeah, I actually, it would be, damn, Daniel.
Yeah, that's about right. If you haven't picked up on the bit that we're doing by now, I really can't help you. The Vancouver Canucks have parted ways with Bruce Boudreau, and
what a bunch of horse shit.
It's really just sickening the way that they kind of handled everything about letting Boudreau go. From the fact that we kind of knew it was coming, but didn't know when it was going to be. We knew they were working on bringing in his replacement. We knew his replacement was in the building at one point during one of the games. And
TNT lost their guy.
Boudreau just had to kind of deal with it and keep marching right on as though nothing out of the ordinary was going on, even though this was a very weird situation, really, really poorly handled by the Canucks organization. And not the first time in recent memory that we've seen issues with the Vancouver Canucks and their personnel and the way that they handle their personnel. But keeping the spotlight on firing Boudreau, they did replace Boudreau with Rick Tocchet.
TNT's own
Rick Tocchet. He'll be leaving the TNT panel, which sidebar for a moment. Can we send Bruce to the TNT panel?
Oh my God, please. If either that or like give him some sort of like WWE commentator because he loves the WWE and that one of the best videos ever is him getting surprised by Kevin Owens, who is also from Canada. He's a big wrestling guy. Like or he's a big hockey guy because he's from Canada. But like that was such a cool video. Yeah, I don't know. I love Bruce Boudreau, and he just got done so dirty. Jim Rutherford's a dick.
Yeah, it really was. It was just so poorly handled across the board. I will say we do know that Boudreau is going to be, in the meantime, reporting to Hershey, Pennsylvania, where he has a team in the USPHL Premier, the Hershey Cubs. He is a co-owner of that team, so it sounds like he's going to be more involved with the team at a junior hockey level. Don't know that it will necessarily be in any coaching capacity, but you never know. He could get on the ice with the boys and bring them just a wealth of experience and knowledge about the game, his own stories, his own career path, and give a lot to those boys as well. So
I have to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that this is the longest plotted revenge in history? Seeing as Bruce Boudreau's first NHL goal was on Jim Rutherford.
If that's the long con, like you almost have to respect that level of pettiness and villainy. The ultimate long con revenge game. I do not think that was a factor in any of this, but it is one of the biggest coincidences of all time. Certainly the biggest coincidence of this hockey season.
I like to picture Jim Rutherford sitting in that office, like trying to decide whether to give the call on to actually fire Boudreau or to just let him keep riding it out this season. And then all of a sudden he just happens to, let's assume Jim Rutherford has a Twitter. He scrolls through Twitter and sees the video and is reminded of it and just goes, you know what? Damn it. You're fired.
It's time. The Lannisters send their regards.
Oh boy.
That's a throwback reference.
I wish I would have known you were going to say that. I would have had the Reigns of Castamere queued up.
And who are you? The proud coach said. I'm really not a fan of the way that Vancouver handled this situation at all. And we've seen
it's because Bruce Boudreau is such a cool guy, too.
He's
such a likable guy. He's obviously a coach that is very well respected. And quite frankly, now that he's available, like maybe not, I don't think anything, we usually don't see hires mid-season, but going into this offseason, he'll be one of the top sought-after coaches for sure.
Well, if he decides he still wants to do it. If he still
wants to, yeah, I guess.
And I wouldn't necessarily blame him if he wanted to hang him up. Before he went to Vancouver, it sounded like he was spending time with his mother in Toronto or the Toronto area. Very close with her, and as her health situations, it sounds like may not have been the greatest. There's something to be said for time with family. So would totally respect if he didn't want to coach anymore, and just wanted to stay working with the USPHL team in Hershey, and wanted to be around family more often. Can't blame him at all for that. I've gotten to meet Boudreau on a couple of occasions, and just the nicest guy in the world. And I mean, if you couldn't tell that from his press conferences and his sound bites and just kind of demeanor, I guess.
Easily.
He's genuinely one of the nicest people in and around the game. And someone who really frankly deserved better than how he was treated on the way out the door.
And quite frankly, like he's got a fair Vancouver career. Like that roster was he took over a kind of rebuilt roster. I mean, they were kind of rebuilding in a way. Young roster,
but also completely, handcuffed by the contract situations.
Exactly. And he still managed with Vancouver, now that he's officially gone, like he still managed to go 50, 40, and 13 was his record in 103 games with Vancouver. It's not, it's basically, if you take away the OT losses, it's 10 over 500, and then add them back in, it's just below 500. I mean, that's fine. Like, it's not like abysmal or anything like that. Also, after only, and actually, now that I mention it too, that's fairly decent when he took over last season.
Yeah,
it was mid-season, wasn't it? Maybe not mid-season, but like quarter.
No, it was. It
quarter
was
of
in the
way.
middle of the season.
Yeah, so, well, it couldn't have been because he coached. What is it? Yeah, he coached 57 games in 21 and 22, or 21 to the 21-22 season. He coached 57 games, and actually, he went 32 and 15. Like,
Yeah,
pretty good.
yeah. He's 20th in all-time coaching wins.
Right. Like, what have I always said? Who's the first scapegoat of any team that's struggling? It's always the head coach.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, it's let's hire one of the most sought after free agent coaches last season. Let's hire him about a quarter of the way through the season.
Yeah, he did coach over half the season, but still not a full season.
Yeah, and then he got halfway through this one. So it's like you gave him basically one full calendar year, essentially.
Right. One full calendar year, but not even, the full roster capabilities. Like, I'm not saying that coaches are necessarily involved in the who stays, who goes decisions. They are to a degree, but generally that's the GM, the front office. We've seen coaching situations where there's the tension between the coaching staff and the front office, and there's kind of that feeling of it's going to happen. This was like
Coach Q,
almost 2 weeks. Not quite with
us.
Not to the same degree
for us.
Not to the same degree though.
It was held under wraps, but it was always
this wasn't held under wraps at all. It was everyone knew that Boudreau was basically a dead man walking as a head coach.
Yeah. And I found an article on ESPN, and I mean, this is kind of where I got that little quote from the bit to lead into this. Like, Bruce Boudreau finally came out and said, like, look, that coaching drama absolutely impacted the players. He came out and said that.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think we can all imagine, of course it did, but to have him actually come out and say it and go public with it, like, dude, Jim Rutherford just...
you can't not think about it if you're a player.
Exactly.
You're basically like, Boudreau is a coach that players want to play for. And there are some coaches who are, I'm going to be really hard on you, but I'm going to get the best out of you. And there are others who are, I'm going to motivate you and cheer you on, but also going to push you to be the best that you can be. And the latter of that is Boudreau. That's his coaching style is upbeat, positive, but still pushing to continually get better. And the type of coach that players want to play for. The type of coach who endears himself to the fans. We saw and heard the Bruce, there it is, chants at
Bruce,
Vancouver. It started last year when he started to turn things around. And normally the stadium would play Whoop, there it is, when the fans were cheering that to bring the energy up and get the crowd into it and get the building rocking.
Yep.
But last week they drowned it out. The fans were starting a Bruce, there it is chant, and they played something different, completely unrelated, just to kind of drown out the Boudreau cheers. So
yep.
I thought it was really tacky is probably the best way to put it, the best word to describe it.
It's very, I'm an immature millionaire owner, and I want things my way. That's what that screams.
Yeah. It's not even Vancouver is not good enough to make the playoffs this year. Barring an absolute heater under Tocchet, I don't think it's going to happen. I'd be very, very surprised if it did.
That's the other piece I'm curious about. I know Tocchet was a coach before, and then you go to
Mm.
the boot, you go to the, you go to the broadcast team. Like, how is that transition? Like, is he just going to be able to, like, can he just flip a switch? I don't. I'm thinking Jeff Saturday, except he never
Mm.
coached. Obviously, Tocchet had coached before, so like,
Right. He's
I'm
got some
just,
experience.
yeah, I'm just like, how can you just flip that switch and all of a sudden just, all right, here we go. Like,
I mean, maybe.
plus, like,
I don't know.
the whole TV personality back to head coach thing, whether you had experience or not, is it's always a little weird to me.
I've gone from being a broadcaster to on the bench, which is nowhere near the same thing as being a head coach. Also, nowhere near doing that at the NHL level. Um, but you really do see the game differently when you are, you know, up top as a broadcaster or watching as part of a panel versus when you are at ice level and in the trenches and really seeing what all is going on. You have a completely different understanding of the game, a different, I don't want to say appreciation for the game, but it's the way you react to what happens is different.
Yeah.
Um, it really is. So yeah, please don't think I'm comparing my experience to NHL experience. I'm hopeful that someday maybe it'll get there, but
It'll happen.
we're still a long ways off from that, which is
Mhm.
fine. You know, still working to get there. Still working to get there.
Come on.
We'll see what happens. Um, but yeah, it's not the easiest thing in the world to make that transition either. So I guess we'll kind of see over the coming days and weeks how the Tocchet transition works, if it works at all. But right now, I mean, Vancouver is 16 points out of a playoff spot.
That's
Um,
to me, that's not going to change.
yeah, I can't see it, and especially like they
Well,
are
'cause
they are closer to being the last place team in the league than they are to a playoff spot.
exactly,
They
and
are
look,
they are 8 points ahead of the Anaheim Ducks with 5 more wins on the season. They do have a game in hand, but it
it doesn't matter. It's still San Jose and Anaheim. Sure, they can probably keep both of them at bay, but then you have to
I
beat
mean,
out
maybe
Cal.
not with San Jose. It depends, and I
Well,
like the
yeah, they're
segue
close,
here
maybe.
because this is going to translate into: are the Sharks going to move Erik Karlsson and Timo Meyer? Um, I think Meyer is more likely to be moved. Karlsson, with his contract situation and with his injury history and with what San Jose is reportedly asking in return, 3 first-round picks.
Yup.
That is an absolute haul for Karlsson, who really good when he's healthy, but how healthy is he going to be? Um, if the Sharks move both of those two, I think there's a very good chance that they finish not only at the bottom of the Pacific, not only at the bottom of the Western Conference, but there's a chance they could be bottom of the league here as well.
Not if we have anything to say about it.
I mean, and Chicago, who we'll touch on later as well, has some trade pieces potentially in the works. But keeping things on San Jose here, the Sharks on the season are 14, 25, and 9. I'm pretty
Wolf.
sure that's a league high on overtime. Yeah, league high on overtime losses as well with 9.
Wolf.
A minus 39 goal differential, which, better than some of the other teams around them. But,
It certainly isn't a minus 86.
it's not a minus 86 of Anaheim. It's not a minus 55 of Chicago. It's not a minus 62 of the Columbus Blue Jackets, who, by the way, are behind the Blackhawks now.
Wait,
so
what?
Anaheim and Columbus are 1 point behind Chicago. If it stays that way, potentially you could have 2 teams behind Chicago leapfrog, and then suddenly the Blackhawks are picking 5th, which right now is kind of my dream scenario. Keep winning, Chicago.
I've never been this angry when the Blackhawks win a game.
I have never been a bigger Blackhawks fan in my life.
I legit. There's actually an episode of Center Ice. I think it was 2 weeks ago now that I was doing that. You literally watch me turn, and as we were in overtime, we won, and you just hear me go, "Son of a bitch, stop winning!"
Yeah, San Jose in a very interesting spot, just as a franchise as a whole. They kind of are at a point where they really need to bottom out. They've had some deep playoff runs. They did advance to a Cup final. Didn't they? No.
Yeah, it was back in 2017.
I don't think that was no, because that was Nashville, right?
No, that was
That year?
2018. Yeah, that was 2018.
16 was
2016,
when, yeah, 16 was when they
16,
advanced.
16 17
Yeah, it was they lost to Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Then Nashville lost to Pittsburgh the next year.
Something like that. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Either way, yeah. So they did advance to a Cup final recently in hockey sense, but
I mean, that was
have
6 years
really
ago.
tailed off because they've had to move on from, Joe Thornton, Patrick Marleau, Joe Pavelski, and as they keep trying to put the contracts together, and they've had to extend Thomas Hertl and Logan Couture, and now you're at the point where Timo Meier's contract is up. He is a restricted free agent for next year, so
That ups your trade value.
It does because it affects how your team control can go. I think if Meier is traded, there's a very good chance that we see an 8-year deal because of that extra year of team control that you can get versus signing as a free agent or restricted free agent. And the other thing with a restricted free agent too is they wouldn't have to give up the draft capital to the Sharks for tendering an offer. I think there has to be some kind of a move here with Timo Meier, but that man is going to get paid on his next deal for sure.
When was the last time a potential Norris frontrunner was traded at the trade deadline?
Oh boy.
Like within the last 20
I honestly can't think of one off the top of my head.
In our potential lifetime.
Yeah. It's such an anomaly because
he's so far
Karlsson
ahead,
gets moved, he's still under contract for 4 more seasons with an $11.5 million cap hit. So even if the Sharks retain half of that contract, you're still talking what, 5.75 mil?
Yeah.
Against the cap that the teams are responsible for. Teams are spending to the cap these days. And it's not that, unless they get a third team involved to retain somewhere, which I suppose is possible. But then again, you're giving up even more. Why would let's say the Arizona Coyotes, who we always talk about them as a team that has become a dumping ground for cap. Why would they take on, say, 2.75 or 2. I can't do that math in my head.
Whatever.
2 points. Yeah, it's like 2.75 roughly. 2.75 mil for each of the next 4 years. You're probably kicking them a first round pick somewhere to retain that kind of cap for that long. Maybe a prospect in there too.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, you're giving the Sharks the compensation for Karlsson. I don't know that we see a deal get done with Karlsson. As much as San Jose wants to try and cash in while the value's high,
you can't.
This
Who the hell
really aged like milk in a hurry with all of his injuries.
Yeah, and it's awesome to see him back to his old form. But
absolutely.
We talk about obviously he had a hugely tragic event in his life, and that's obviously what I believe that played into him kind of tapering off a little bit. I think he was worth the money he got, but then all of a sudden, that unfortunate, unforeseen circumstance happens, and that type of stuff happens. And it's awesome to see him back to rare form, but at age 32, 4 years left, all this cap stuff we're talking about. I don't know who the hell
injury history
that too, but
it's so scary for a team to make that kind of an investment.
That kind of ropes into he's 32, so you can't fight off and fend off injuries as well at 32.
Father Time is undefeated.
Yeah, he even caught up to Tom Brady.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just. It sucks to see because such an amazing career is going to just waste away on a shit San Jose team, or Maybe he goes to a contender, but what contender has the cap space to make that work?
I mean, the only team, well, and this isn't even because the thing that people don't always take into account with cap, and Minnesota fans recently have been very guilty of this, is the how does that affect the long-term cap situation? If you're committing, they looked at the recently Wild fans have been really up in arms about the 7x7 extension for Matt Boldy and saying, for an extra 750K, you could have kept Fiala. No, that's not how it works because if you're keeping Fiala, one, you're not going to be able to re-sign Boldy to that sort of a deal. Two, there's going to be other cap casualties along the way because you don't have the room to sign them either. So you're not going to be able to put together a competitive roster with those types of moves. Now, it's hard enough to move somebody with an $11.5 million cap hit in the final year of their deal, but to move someone with 4 more years remaining, the way that affects the long-term cap situation over 4 years, that's a lot of moving parts. The cap isn't going up. We might see a what did I say? Half his value is 575.
Yeah.
We might see that total number of cap dollar increase over the next 4 years, but that's total over that time span. That's not going to be, the cap from 23 to 24 goes up 5.75 mil. I would be stunned if that happened.
Yeah.
To go up that much, like that's not what the NHL does. That's not how the cap works. So I really don't see a situation where a contender right now this year and over the next 4 years has the room to do it. Unless you're a team that again, like Arizona, where you've got the room to do it, but also the young players on entry-level deals to kind of buy through it. But again, Arizona is not going to be competitive over the next couple of years. They do have a lot of good prospects in their system now and probably more on the way with all the draft capital they have over the next few seasons. Something like, I think it's as of right now, they have like 6 second-round picks and 6 or 7 third-round picks over the next 3 years of draft classes. So they've got a ton of ammo ready to throw at draft picks.
Right.
But again, why would you give all of that up when you're still rebuilding?
The more
Arizona,
likely,
it's a franchise-wide rebuild. It's not a, hey, we need to add a couple players here or there and we're ready. They're a long ways away.
Yeah. The more likely one, hell, I'd argue potentially one of the first to go is going to be Timo Meier.
If Timo Meier goes, he is going to absolutely set the market for what the rest of the deals look like. Everybody's going to base it around, well, here's what San Jose got for Timo Meier. Where do we?
Who were we talking about last week? Who were we talking about last week that I said he will be the first to go, and I'm sticking to my guns. Who did I say? I said it on both shows too, and I can't remember for some reason.
I'm trying to remember. We talked. Oh, that's a good question. Give me a second to scroll back through our text.
All I gotta do is look up.
We can look it up.
All I gotta do is look up NHL trade rumors to see the top ones outside.
Well, we talked about Jacob Chikrin, and I don't know. Is that who you're thinking of?
No, Bo Horvat.
Oh, yep. Which again, back to Vancouver, where you're looking at: are they going to trade Bo Horvat? Are they going to trade JT Miller? Are they going to trade Brock Besser? All of those are still very much in play, and you trade those 3 guys, you don't have a competitive roster, so you can't blame Boudreau for that type of situation.
Nope.
At least with the Sharks, they're in a little better cap situation, but looking ahead to next year, Nick Bonino is coming off the books.
Bonino.
We love us some Nick Bonino. They do have a few other restricted and unrestricted free agent forwards, 5 or 6, I can count. Outside of Bonino, it's 5. But the only D-man that they have coming off the books for next year is Scott Harrington, who right now is making $750K. James Reimer coming off the books, might get an extension there. They do have Luke Cunnin and Radim Simek on injured reserve right now, with Marcus Nudivara and Nikolai Knyzhov on long-term injured reserve, but those guys together come out to just about
You're going too
7 mil.
deep here.
Yeah, it's a deep cut here. So they're if they're able to move Carlson, that's a ton of cap leverage that opens up. But I almost think they're better off holding him for one more year, hoping that next season he's looking like this again, and then they can start to plan. Okay, 3 years out instead of 4. What can we do there? And credit to San Jose for trying to cash in while Carlson's value is through the roof right now. If injuries aside, cap situation aside, you look at the way he's playing, like every team would want to have someone playing at the level that Carlson is playing at. But when you start to add in all those other factors, there's not a way a deal makes sense. Now, Timo Meier, on the other hand, with a $6 million cap hit for this year and restricted free agent after that, if he gets moved, and I'm going to ask in a minute here what teams he could potentially move to, where might be a fit. If he gets moved, that's a good deal for a contender. That could also be a situation where, maybe team tenders an offer, and then whatever team has traded for him this year says, you know what? No, we're not going to match that offer. You can sign him and then we'll recoup the draft capital. It could work out that way. So you have, let's say Meier gets moved for a first, a second, and prospect, just to throw that out there as a potential deal. Depending what contract value he gets signed at, you could see 3 first-round picks coming back if you had, tendered the offer sheet, but somebody else offer sheeted him, which would be chaotic. It's very rare to see an offer sheet in the NHL, but for a player like Timo Meier, I think there are some teams who potentially, with the right cap situation, could offer sheet and make that work. I think a team that trades for him at the deadline this year could decline to match an offer sheet and potentially gain more draft capital than they gave up in the deal. So yeah, Joel, I'm going to ask you, where do you think Carlson and Meier go?
I was like, damn, dude, you're going on a straight monologue here about the San Jose Sharks.
I kind of took over that segment a little bit.
I was like, all right, I'll read some stuff. I didn't know you were this passionate about the Sharks.
I like Timo Meier. I want to see him go somewhere where he can be competitive in the prime of his career.
I mean, yeah, any team that gets him is going to be. But the thing is I feel like only teams that need an extra little bit of a scoring touch are going to really benefit from him. But
yeah, I mean,
where can I see him going? I mean, the problem is you're my cap guy, so you could probably gut check me on anybody I choose. But actually, realistically, this kind of makes sense to me. I'm kind of selling myself on this.
Okay.
Now that they're, showing and proving that they are the real deal this year, they're, I don't know how far they could go, but it's almost like they're good and they can continue to build their team even higher on the fly. What about Seattle?
Ooh. I think it would be a little odd for them to make that trade within the division, but
I know. That was what
when you limit yourself to trading outside the division, you're limiting the number of good deals that you can potentially get.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I sit here and I'm like, if I'm the GM of if I'm the GM of the Blackhawks and I'm like, oh, the Blues are offering me 2 first-round picks for, Patrick Kane or something, like, yeah, I would. That hurts me to even think about. But you just offered me 2 first-round picks or something crazy like 3 first-round picks or 2 first-round picks and Jordan Kyrou, something nuts. Like, yeah, I'm gonna put, I wouldn't sit there and be like, you're my divisional rival, I'm not doing this trade. Like, you need to do what's best for business at the end of the day. Like,
right.
I mean, Seattle within the division, if we're gonna go by the rule, like this little unwritten rule that we think probably exists, toasty take. I haven't had one in a week and a half, and we don't have the soundboard.
Toasty.
Toasty. We need the soundboard. That did not do the effect. The Islanders.
Interesting. Islanders do need to dump a good amount of cap and contract. Yeah,
they need some scoring.
They're kind of stuck as a franchise as well. Need a big move to shake things up. Lot of long-term deals to players on the wrong side of 30.
Well, you see where I'm going with this. I'm not looking at, like, I kind of took myself out of the top contenders. Like a Boston doesn't really need Timo Meier. Carolina.
I'm going to throw this out there right now too. Boston should not change a thing. They should not trade for anybody at this point. You know, why would you try and fix what clearly isn't broken? They're on 78 points. They're 37-5-4 right now. They have played 46 games, and there are only 5 games where they have not recorded a point. That is insane. If Boston is able to sustain over the course of the rest of the regular season, they're winning the cup. And they're clearly playing so much better hockey than everyone else right now. It's frankly amazing. Why would you mess with the chemistry? Why would you mess with any of that? Like, as good as they are, I don't know that they need a piece to go out and put them over the top. How often do we see teams try and make that move to go all in and it kind of backfires in their face? Pretty regularly, where the team either doesn't win the cup or potentially doesn't even advance to the cup.
Florida.
Yeah. The pace that they're on right now. If I'm Boston, I'm not trading for anybody.
No, you don't have to get to the trade deadline and just think like, oh shit, I better make a move. Like, you don't have to make a move just to make a move.
Right.
You don't have to. Yeah. Like, go ahead and let people wheel and deal. Like, what you have going on is working and it's not broken. Leave it alone. Sure. You can add some smaller pieces if it's not going to cost you much. Go ahead. If you got to shore up a third line center or something, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go out there. There's plenty to be had out there. You do not need to be the team, regardless if you don't have to try and convince people. Like, your record is convincing enough that you're primed and ready to run for a cup this year. You don't have to go out and be like, all right, I made this big splash and traded for Timo Meier or Bor Horvat or Patrick Kane. Now I'm serious about. See, look at that that segue.
Wow, funny how I segued that here for you. Tried to put that on a tee for you because there has been some talk of either Taves or Kane to the Boston Bruins if they decided to
Taves
go. I've heard some of that just to shore up the. You want to?
They're already a dominant face-off team enough. Taves makes them the best face-off team in the league.
Oh, without a doubt. Like, you're playing to get the puck back, basically, is what you're doing, because you're not going to win draws.
Yeah.
Ryan O'Reilly, someone that we've heard today as well, could be on the move. And if you need a center to win you some faceoffs, those are two of the top guys to go out and get you a faceoff win. Joel, what is your pulse on things around Chicago? As a Blackhawks fan, what are these sort of vibes that you're getting? Would Kane and Taves stay in Chicago? Would they accept a trade to someone else this year, but then potentially sign in the offseason to go back to Chicago and kind of stay there, finish out their careers? What's the sense that you're getting?
It's funny. It's kind of all over. It's pretty much everything that you just said. Like there are pulses all over the place. It's almost like the pulse. We just drank a Red Bull, so it's just all over the place. There's so many reports, official reports, like people, and here, even before I get into the reporting of an aspect and everything, like, I know God knows how many people will just come up to me and ask me, like, what do you think? And I don't even, I can't give a straight answer. And I feel like every time my answer is different. One minute, hell, just today, leaving work, my answer was, I think they're probably gonna end up leaving. But then like a couple weeks ago, I was like, I don't know. Like I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, it was about 2 weeks ago where I was like, based on what I'm reading and stuff, like I wouldn't be surprised if both of them just decided to stay
Yeah,
and like say I don't want to
entirely
get.
possible.
And the ideal scenario is obviously like what you the third one, option you just said, like they both get traded, but then they both just come right back on what you can call a hometown deal, whatever that might be. That's the most ideal scenario. It would still kind of sting, but then it's like then it's an unknown purgatory. But then ultimately it's the gift of okay, they're back, and however many years of a deal it is, and it's going to be less. Obviously, neither of them are $10.5 million players anymore. Well, arguably Kane could be, but he's not this year.
Kane is really,
and that's the other thing that
he's so committed to the tank. He's tanked his trade value.
I mean, yeah, right. But the other thing there is his nagging hip injury that's ailing him, and it kept him out for I believe it was 3 to 4 games, and then we started seeing some way too early reports of like, oh, he could get shut down for the season. That obviously didn't happen. He's back, and he's back to producing as well. But that injury, that little nagging hip injury looms. That tanks your trade value alone.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
Yeah, and so that, and hell, I mean, I think he realizes that. So right now, the most recent official news from the team themselves, and from Kyle Davidson himself too, and I think Kane and Taves too, is that they were supposed to have a meeting. I believe it was supposed to be. I think it was as early as I believe this week. But now it sounds like they've moved it. Like they're planning on having this meeting sometime early February. I think maybe like what's the second week? What are those dates? Like the 9th. So the 6th is like the first full week of February. Somewhere in there, like the 9th to the 13th area is the most recent kind of reports of them having a meeting on what their future holds. And obviously the trade deadline is, what is it, March 2nd, 3rd?
Yeah, it's early March. So
yeah, it's March. I had it up. March 3rd. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, right now the teams haven't really changed, especially for Kane. He's been linked to, obviously, we know the Rangers, the Bruins, the Hurricanes, and apparently the Avalanche and Islanders have also been talked about.
By the way, throwing this out there, I think Timo Meier goes to the Avalanche.
It's funny you say that. I was actually that was one of my third teams I was gonna pick too. I could see that.
Yeah.
They need help.
I like the idea of Seattle, and like you're talking about potentially, especially if Seattle extends Timo Meier, that you could have Timo Meier, Matty Beniers, and Shane Wright 1, 2, and 3 as your centers for the next decade, basically. That's nasty.
Yeah. But yeah, the pulse is all over the place. I think, like, from a fan's perspective, the want is actually very split.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, I'd love to get some draft capital back, and hell, losing those two pretty much all but confirms, like, there ain't going to be much more winning here if both of them leave.
Not over the next couple of years, anyway.
Oh no, I just mean this season for the
yeah.
tank.
Oh yeah,
yes, also that, right? Of course, and that's everyone wants their chance at Bedard. I would like my chance at Bedard, or at the very least Fantilli.
Fantilli's going to be a stud too.
Holy really, I mean, like we both have said, like 9 drafts out of 10, he's the first overall pick. It just so happens that that 10th draft that he's in has Connor Bedard in it. Here's how I've been saying it. The 8 stages of grief?
5, but
5.
Depending how long you stay in them, it might feel like 8.
I thought it was 8.
No.
All right, whatever. The stages
it's
of
5, but there are variations on it which add 8.
The stages of grief. You know how the final one is acceptance?
Yep.
That's kind of in my mind where I'm at. But I never actually hit any of the middle ones. First one is denial, or first or second is denial. And then the last one is acceptance. I was in denial. Then eventually I was like kind of happy. Well, the sadness is going to stay there, but like I was a little happy, like, okay, you know what, like this could mean great things moving forward, and they'll eventually
that's your bargaining stage right there too. Like,
there
yeah,
you
it's
go.
bad, but it could be, could be a positive thing in the long run, and
Yeah, and they're
we're getting
gonna
something back. It's a literal bargain,
yeah.
honestly.
Now I'm in acceptance. Like if / when it happens, it's still gonna hit me like a truck, and it's gonna hit this city like a truck, but it's gonna be one of those things where it's like, all right, well, Davidson flat out said we are rebuilding.
Mm.
No other team president has had the balls to come out and say that in Chicago. Ryan Poles didn't have to say it. He's just kind of was like, you guys are smart enough to figure it out, so I'm not going to bash him for it. But everyone else, no. So, yeah, I mean, right now it sounds like we should have an update in the next couple of weeks. They have a meeting. Obviously, their agent, Pat Brisson, I think I heard some stat like he's like the agent for like a quarter of the league's like best players.
He's got a lot of good players under his wing.
So like that's why it was like people were like, well, why the hell did they push the meeting back? Like, well, what happened there? And it's like you got to work around the agent schedule too. And this dude has God knows how many like star players under his business.
By the way, throwing this one out there because I want to get this one on the record here. Eric Portillo, who is the goaltender at the University of Michigan.
Is he related to the Portillo's family?
Well, no, but here's where I'm going with this is his draft rights are held by the Buffalo Sabres. There's kind of the way that organization is looking, not necessarily a guarantee that they would be able to get him steady, consistent ice time at either the NHL or AHL level. So they might be in a position where, or he just decides, it's been 3 years. I'm not going to sign with Buffalo and I'm going to take my shot in free agency. Team like Chicago, who has kind of been hurting in the goaltending department quite literally over the last couple of seasons, could use potentially somebody new in the pipeline. You think Chicago isn't going to market the bejesus out of a guy named Portillo in a city almost quite literally run by Portillos?
He will absolutely be in a Portillo's commercial, whether or not he ends up even ever playing a minute for the Blackhawks.
By the way, Michigan teammates with Pat Brisson's son, Brendan.
Okay, that's weird.
There's a connection there.
How is this connection? This is a weird. What the hell just happened here?
That's why I'm drawing all the pieces together.
Wait, and his favorite food, chocolate cake.
Yeah, there you go. But is it the cake or is it the cake shake?
It should be the cake. The cake shake is very overrated. Also, so is Portillo's.
That might be the spiciest take you've ever said on this show.
That the cake shake is overrated?
Yep.
Yeah, no, the spiciest take I will ever have on the show is that Portillo's beef sandwiches are overrated.
This man out here slandering Chicago.
I'm not slandering Chicago. There are way better beef sandwich places around Chicago than Portillo's.
You're a better beef sandwich around Chicago.
You're damn right I am. My middle name is Beef Sandwich.
Dry. Sandwich for Nina.
That's another hot take. I get my beef sandwiches dry.
Cheese, peppers?
No cheese, definitely hot peppers. Cheese ruins it, in my opinion. But anyway, I will put a bow on this because obviously we're going to have more shows on this in hell. We might have to dedicate an entire hour-long show to when they get if and when a trade
happens, yeah. And we'll go live as best we can on trade deadline day.
What day is March 3rd? Is it a Tuesday? It's usually a Tuesday, right?
Usually.
Nope. It's a Friday.
It's okay. That could work. That has possibilities. Live on a Friday.
That could happen.
Well, stay tuned. We'll keep you posted.
Could do a trade deadline live thing. But yeah,
we got to rattle through some Wednesday night picks here, though.
Yes, we do.
Because we're getting a little bit behind where we normally would be at this point. Joel 3-2 last week. I went 2-3.
I didn't go 5-0.
I hit it big with the Ottawa Senators beating the Pittsburgh Penguins in overtime. That was my big hit of the week. We both swung and missed on the Dallas Stars losing on the road to the San Jose Sharks by 2. When we both took Stars minus 1.5. So that one was a big swing and a miss. I need to start actually buying into Boston. They're a wagon. It's time for me to accept it. I was hoping that the Islanders and Ilya Sorokin could steal a game. That did not work out. Joel, you nailed that one. It was a 4-1 win for Boston. And speaking of those New York Islanders, they are plus 105 at the Ottawa Senators tomorrow night. Joel, who you got in that one?
So you kind of already mentioned it. This shouldn't be as easy, and I'm knowing my luck this season on picks, this is going to bite me in the ass, but every single time I've picked against Ottawa, I have lost. No longer will I pick against Ottawa. I am going with the Senators.
Well, if you won't, then I will. I'm going New York Islanders just on the off chance, and the Islanders have been in a bit of a funk lately. I kind of tried to pump their tires a little bit last week, and really it has not been good. They are
6-3 in their last 10.
Yeah, and on a 5-game losing streak.
Woof.
The wheels are completely falling off the Islanders. I'm still, I feel like I'm chasing here a little bit in the hopes that the Islanders might turn it around. And a team like Ottawa is a team where they do have a decent chance to turn it around. But yikes, it's been bad for the Islanders here lately. I see why they're plus money. It makes sense. It makes sense if the Ottawa Senators at home, would be the favorite here. I'm hoping I can squeeze out just a little bit of value on the Islanders here, but not super confident in that pick at all. We go from that to we've got a couple really stacked games tomorrow, and they're going to kind of overlap here a little bit. The New York Rangers plus 130 at the Toronto Maple Leafs minus 150. Joel, who you got in that one?
Wow, that's a good game.
This is probably, in my opinion, it's the second best game of the night, but it also could very easily be the first. Maple Leafs 6-3-1 in their last 10. Rangers 7-2-1 in their last 10. Really kind of balanced teams that match up well against each other here.
Yeah. Regardless of who you pick to win, hammer the over in this game.
Yeah, that's. I think you're right on that.
I would hammer the over in this game, which I assume is probably 5.5, maybe.
6 even. Wait, nope, hang on. The screen jumped on me. Oh, yeah, 6 even. With actually, believe it or not, the under as the slight favorite. Under is minus 115. Over is minus 105.
I would be hammering the over on this game. Call it the safer pick, even though this game is really kind of a coin toss, in my opinion. I'm going to go with the Maple Leafs. I took your route. When in doubt, I'm going to go with the home team.
Yeah, I'm with you here. Toronto, I have the hardest time, and you do too, with them on Wednesday night picks because it seems like when we pick them, they lose. When we pick against them, they win. And especially if we're both in agreement on whatever the pick is.
Right.
So I'm with you here. I'm going to lean Toronto. Would not be surprised if this game goes to overtime. Would not be surprised if it goes to a shootout. I think we're looking at a 4-3 scoreline in this one. I'll say Leafs, and I'll say Leafs in overtime at that 4-3. My prediction on the score there as well, but Leafs minus 150 on the money line is where I'm going. Now to what I believe is the game of the night, because if you thought Rangers Leafs was something, how about Hurricanes Dallas Stars, where the line is at even money right now?
Even. Oh my God.
Yep.
I would stay away from
minus 110. Yeah. This is you're exactly right. I stay away from this one unless you really have some sort of juice that you feel confident in here. Again, I think I'm probably going to pick the opposite of whatever you do, just in the hopes that that were right here.
Yeah. This is. Oh man. Let me. Not that this is actually going to sway my decision, but let me just see like how each of them are doing as of very recently.
Carolina 5-3-2 on a 2-game winning streak.
Dallas
Dallas
5-3-2.
5-3-2 on a 1-game losing streak.
It wasn't going to sway me either way. I just really was kind of curious. I'm gonna take Carolina with this. I've gone 2 home teams in a row. I'm gonna switch that up and take Carolina this time around.
I'm going to go Dallas again. Like the things that concern me with Carolina, Jacob Slavin, day to day, is doubtful for tomorrow's game.
Right.
Pacioretty, who again with the Achilles,
he's out for the season. That's actually that
he might
brings,
be done for longer than the season. He might be done done.
He might be done. But that's also why Carolina had been linked to Patrick Kane as of very recently too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there is a little bit of potential long-term IR. But there is also a limit on how much you can put on long-term injured reserve, and Carolina is getting dangerously close to that amount.
Right.
So I am going to go Dallas here, and the biggest difference for me is the clean injury report. Obviously, Slavin in the lineup does make a big difference for Carolina. This game as well, I think you can probably take the under on this one. Where's my line here? That one is also over under at 6 with minus 110 each way. So however you split the lines.
Yeah.
And on the puck line right now, slight favorite to Dallas, which again, they're the home team. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But Dallas minus 1.5 is plus 210. Carolina plus 1.5 says minus 250. So if you're going to bet on this game, the value is nowhere near there on the puck line. You're going money line. I'm going to go Dallas here. Now to the complete opposite, where not only do we have plus minus 1.5, we have a full plus minus 2.5. That is what the model says for how separated these two teams are right now. Columbus Blue Jackets plus 2.5 goals at minus 130.
Wow.
At the Edmonton Oilers minus 2.5 goals at plus 110. Joel, no question about it, one of the most potent offenses in the league in the Edmonton Oilers, 178 goals this season. That is the league leading team.
Of course it is. Do you know why?
Yeah, Connor McJesus.
Yeah, Connor McDavid. Hold on. Let's just, you know what? I don't care about people that don't want to give love to the best player in the league. I love what we are witnessing history. We are witnessing, if it continues this route, we are witnessing someone who will also get close to Gretzky's records by the time it's all said and done. Maybe not points, but points is a little tougher to get to. But yeah. I mean, this man in 48 games played. I love this. I love this stat. He has played 48 games. That is also how many assists alone that he has. He has 40 goals and 48 assists for 88 points in 48 games. Dude, he's going to eclipse 100 before we hit March.
100 points.
100 points. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. He's going to eclipse 100 points before March even gets here. Hell,
he could get it in January, depending how much he feasts on Columbus tomorrow night.
That's true. I'll go out on a limb and say he gets to 100 points by Valentine's Day. By Valentine's Day. Yeah.
Yep. I'm in agreement with you there.
Yeah.
Let's not forget as well here, 92 goals is the record for a season. Now, we're 48 games in and 40 goals. He's not quite on that pace, but
he's close.
He's like the fact that he is potentially going to get close. Every hockey fan should be excited about that. Every hockey fan should be rooting for him to break that record.
Dude, I root for him to break every record. Yeah. I want him to break. I want him to be the new Gretzky. Yeah. Everyone in our parents' lifetimes and some of our aunt and uncles' lifetimes got to witness Gretzky. Mm-hmm. You got to witness the GOAT of hockey. I selfishly, I don't care. I want that.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I guarantee you, if we had Gretzky on this show and we interviewed him, Wayne, you should come on the show. We'd love to interview you, buddy. If
unbelievable.
we, I guarantee, I don't even, I would
Oh,
be so
it'd be
starstruck.
phenomenal. Yeah.
Um, I think, I mean, based on Gretzky wanting Ovechkin to break his goals record, I think
Mhm.
he wants to see all of his records broken. Like that's good for the game.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. As far as picks go,
Oh yeah, sorry, we kind of
it
got on a
you
McDavid
know,
tangent, a McJesus tangent.
yeah, we had to heap some praise on here.
I'm gonna let you go
Edmonton on
first.
a 6-game win streak, 7-2-1 in their last 10, plus 22 goal differential. The Blue Jackets 3-6-1 in their last 10 on a 1-game losing streak. They lost with
Last night.
last night. The Johnny Gaudreau returned to Calgary.
Yep. He put up
But
2 assists.
what does that say about Calgary that they needed overtime to beat Columbus at home?
That they are still on my fraud watch.
Yeah. If for no other reason than that the line is 2.5 goals, I'm taking Columbus in this one. But again, this could just as easily turn into the Connor McDavid show. It could turn into the Leon Draisaitl show. It could turn into the Darnell Nurse show for all we know. I'm
I'm
going
with
Columbus, but again, oh, that doesn't feel great, even with a
no.
line at plus
I'm
2.5.
I'm with you. Smart money. Like if you are
Mm,
putting real money on this, if you are in a state that is lucky enough to be able to gamble on sports, if you're
mm.
putting money on it, absolutely agree with Dan here. At plus 2.5, like that should, no matter how crappy your team is, that really should be. It should be
The
good money.
idea that
It
they have
should
to
be
beat you by 3 to cover
exactly.
is a lot. It's a
In
big
today's
ask.
NH in this season's NHL lately,
Mhm.
nothing has ever been guaranteed like this.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, because I want to have some fun and I don't plan on putting
Oh
real money
boy.
on this game, give me the Oilers minus 2.5.
Oh, we're going different again. We've been different on 3 of our 4 tonight.
I don't actually feel good about that, to be honest with you. Like it's the Oilers, their offense is the best in the league, but
Mm.
like guaranteeing a win by more than 2 goals is very tough. I don't care how
Yeah,
bad of a
it's a
team
tough
you
bet.
are,
Yeah.
but I I want to have some fun with this. I'm gonna do it now. Like I said, if I'm gonna actually bet real money on it, which I might, I'm going the other way. But
Yeah.
for funsies, absolutely, I'm going Oilers.
And our last game of the night, we already touched on both of these teams earlier in the show. The Vancouver Canucks plus 1.5 goals, Seattle Kraken minus 1.5. Joel, one more time, who we got in this one? Vancouver, Seattle, the budding rivalry
Right,
in the
right,
Pacific.
right. The border rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
This one's kind of tough. Like this will be wait. Do the Canucks play tonight?
I was just going to check that. Buy me like 4 more seconds.
So anyway, how about that weather? Uh,
Canucks are. Oh, you should know this. They are in action tonight. They're playing
oh,
the
we're playing
Blackhawks.
the Hawks, right?
Yeah.
All right, so never mind. My whole thing of Tockett's first game as head coach, they might kind of have a fire under their ass. Canucks probably win tonight, by the way. However,
Hawks. Go Hawks, baby.
now
Spoil Tockett's debut. I need
nope,
it.
nope, nope.
Karmically, the universe needs it.
I'm gonna ask.
Just as a deal with it, Vancouver, you dropped the ball, you blew it, lose to the Blackhawks. I
while
need it.
while I would like that, I want Bedard too badly. So no, we need to lose. Anyway, the Kraken are also a very potent offense this year.
They are, and the Kraken are not in action tonight.
Not
So
in
you get
action,
team on the
rested
second leg of a back-to-back.
versus a bad team. Bad team on the second leg of back-to-back versus a very good team rested.
Not to mention bad team on the second end of a back-to-back with a new coach
At home. Oh yeah, and sorry, on the road.
They're playing on the road. Yeah.
So all of that put together, minus the fact that Tockett's first game is tonight, not tomorrow. Yeah, screw it. Give me the Kraken at minus 1.5. Did we go?
So recapping our picks tonight, I'm with you here. We're both going Kraken. I'm going Columbus plus 2.5. Joel going Edmonton minus 2.5.
Toasty.
We get the 2.5 marker out. I think that's the first time this season we've seen a 2.5 on the betting lines as well, at least that I can recall. Joel is going Carolina. I am going with Dallas. We split on this one as well. I'm going with the Islanders because I'm committed to getting that one wrong. Joel is committed to getting that one right and is taking Ottawa.
I don't know, man.
And then Joel and I are both taking the Toronto Maple Leafs. Joel, you have 2 minutes for roughing this week, so I'm going to get the clock ready to go here.
Oh, man. I forgot what I was going to bitch about.
You can take a few more seconds here to try and remember.
Uh-oh.
Oh, boy.
I really thought I had something. I'm. Oh, man. What the hell was I going to complain about?
Was it something hockey related? Was it something
No,
Chicago related? Was it
no,
something?
it was. Oh my God! What the hell was it? Uh-oh.
Oh no!
Oh man! Hold on. This is good content. Thinking of something.
A plus content. Boom, 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 boom.
I think it was. Oh, I got it.
Okay, here we go.
It's Chicago related.
3, 2, 1, go.
All right, as we know, and this isn't going to be that passionate, but as we know, my beloved Chicago Bears have the fortune of picking first overall in this year's NFL draft. And I am quite sick and tired of all the bitching, moaning, and Twitter GMs that exist, not just in this city or in the state. They probably outside of the state too, apparently, that want to just throw Ryan Poles, the GM of the Bears, under the bus and drag him behind the bus for something that hasn't even happened yet or something that may not happen. Like, we've had the first overall pick for now, what? A week?
Yeah,
2 weeks? 2 weeks? And all I see is, if we don't trade away that pick, Ryan Poles should be fired. Like it's blasphemy and it's a failure if he just uses that pick. Not to mention, okay, if he trades that pick, he should. I've heard takes of he should trade that pick and then for a wide receiver from one team and then trade that pick for another wide receiver. There are so many holes on this team, and to me, here's the thing. I am giving Ryan Poles the benefit of the doubt, not because he's earned it yet, but because he's still new. And again, he has the first overall pick. The draft isn't until July, something like that. April, maybe, whatever it is. April. Sorry, the draft isn't until April.
And we're pushing the draft to July.
He's already getting dragged through the mud for something that he hasn't done or will or won't do already. It's just like, this is getting ridiculous. He has the leverage. Let him wheel and deal and let him do his job, and we'll see what happens. And I'm going to keep going for a hot second. Nothing is guaranteed in the draft either. You could draft somebody with that first overall pick and they become a Hall of Famer. You could also draft someone with that first overall pick and they turn out to be really damn good, but people are still going to get pissed because, oh, well, why'd we use the first overall pick on a guy that only made the Pro Bowl a couple times or something like that? Like, I understand. But the other thing is that you need to weigh out the options and see where your leverage lies. And if you trade it, great. But the thing is you need so many different holes to be filled on this roster that, you kind of, he's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. And he could win, he could lose. I don't know.
I would say the only team that the Bears truly don't have leverage on right now is Houston at 2.
Oh, no, absolutely. Exactly.
Yeah. Because Houston probably going to take a quarterback. Bears probably not going to take a quarterback. there's still what if that's garbage. If you believe that, you haven't been paying attention. Like the Bears are so committed to Justin Fields, they are not taking a quarterback.
And arguably, Justin Fields is better than any of the quarterbacks that are going to go at the top anyway.
Well,
TBD, but that's for all the takes I've been hearing from a lot of the analysts out there. That's kind of the consensus. Like, why would you? A couple are like, oh yeah, absolutely trade him. Like, get Bryce Young in there, or CJ Stroud, or what's the other dude? Will Levis.
I'm all the way out on CJ Stroud, by the way. I don't think he's going to be
after how he played in the. What the hell's wrong with you?
I don't think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback. I just don't.
Well,
that's a topic for another show.
I heard a funny. It was a caller on ESPN radio today. It was funny. It was like, we trade with Houston, and we get their number 2 overall plus Brandon Cooks. Then we trade that 2nd overall with the Colts and get Michael Pittman along with their 4th or something. And I'm like, how the hell would that ever happen? Also, okay. We need wide receivers. Scenario. We need wide receivers, but we need protection for Justin Fields first and foremost.
Yeah, I think the Bears probably go defensive line with their, assuming they stay in the top 5 or 6.
Yep.
You're probably taking Carter or Anderson.
There's this other guy too from Texas Tech apparently too.
Yep. I'm blanking on his name, but I know what you're talking about. Edge rusher Wilson, I want to say. Yeah. Tyree Wilson, maybe. I think that's
it. Something like that.
Tyree Wilson. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, that's it for tonight's show. Because when we're talking this much football, it's time to put
maybe Dan and I will create an NFL podcast one day.
Maybe one of these days. We do too many podcasts already. We're each on 2 right now. A third would be, darn near overkill. But
true.
Maybe one of these days we'll see. But that is it for tonight's show. We are off next week, so keep that in mind as well. No show next week. We'll be back in February. That's where we're at. But thanks to everybody who tuned in tonight. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow on Twitter at PodSnipeCelly, and on Facebook, search PodSnipeCelly there as well. Thank you to Noob Sports and the Sports 2.0 Network for giving us this platform every week. And thanks for whether you're listening live, whether you're listening on demand on iTunes, Spotify, watching us on YouTube, wherever you're checking us out. Thank you very much. Your loyalty to this show means the world to us. So that's it for tonight. He's Joel. I'm Dan. Enjoy the rest of your night, everybody.
So long.